Brynn, do you have a moment?
For my favourite lawkeeper? Absolutely.
I'm the only lawkeeper here, though.
Yes. Doesn't mean you aren't my favourite. So, what do you need?
What was it? Oh, yes. I'm looking to do some experiments with alchemical reagents, and was wondering if you could source me some.
That sounds like something I could help with. What's the experiment?
I won't waste your time with specifics. I just think it'll produce something helpful, if my hypothesis is correct.
Well, my last lawkeeper sent me out all the time for herbs that he'd inevitably just stuff in a pipe and smoke.
Oh. No, that makes sense, then. Yes, sorry. I think I can help Oria with the Watcher's Wisp.
Oh. After what happened in the Veil's Shadow, any improvement to the scry is worth making.
Exactly. I noticed that she needs a break before guiding you again. The tangles were so bad in the shadow, she couldn't use the wisp at all.
The scry has been better inside the Enclave, but we shouldn't take any chances. What do you need?
There's a plant that only grows here in the Enclave. It expresses a clarifying magical essence. I think I can use it to strengthen Oria's connection with the scry.
That'd be really helpful.
I think so too. Now, am I missing something?
Where can I find the plant?
Oh, right. At night, in the outskirts. They glow, so you won't be able to identify them during the daytime. And I believe they mostly grow in clusters near bodies of water. Not rivers, but ponds, lakes, you know.
Go to the outskirts at night and grab some glowing plants near bodies of water. Got it.
Well, they have a more accurate name than that. I won't overcomplicate it. But they're referred to locally as Diane's Chorus, which refers to a moment in the Enclave's history early on when their second leader, Diane Ramenos, was elected by unanimous vote. She was the right person at the right time for the Enclave and brokered several extremely lucrative trade deals.
The more you talk, the longer you'll wait.
Sorry, yes, please, go. Bring them to me as soon as you can. Thank you. One moment, Brynn. I just need to write this down. Stir twice clockwise, filter the sediment, put it aside for Darm's moisturizing cream. Good. Now, did I forget something when last we spoke? I was after some ingredients to enhance the Watcher's Wisp. Is that correct? I know it hasn't been long, but...
Don't worry. No problems there. I know we chatted before, but I wanted to learn more about you.
Well, I came from Judea. You already know that. I'm an enthusiastic student of the alchemical arts. Oh, there's more to my family. I'm my father's third child, but I have 3 siblings. I was fairly close to 2 of them. The firstborn is 12 years older than me and never had much interest in being friends.
Was that hard on you?
It was normal to be in that situation, I'd say. By the time I was old enough to hold a conversation, he was already playing the political game. Took after my mother in that regard. Hold on, I need to write something down. To do. Investigate why Sola keeps borrowing moisturizing cream from Darm instead of coming to me to get her own.
Big list of tasks you've got there.
Like you wouldn't believe.
I've never been to Judea. Can you tell me more about what it was like to grow up there?
Brynn, respectfully, I like to think I'm an open book, but as I said, I have quite a big list of tasks to complete. You do, too. Let's try and make a dent, shall we?
Of course. Catch you later. Glowing plants acquired and delivered. How are things on your end?
Oh, I'd almost forgotten about these. Thankfully, the alchemic preparation is, well, prepared. Let me find it. Here it is. All I need to do is extract the clarifying essence, and that should do it.
It's wonderful to watch a genius at work. So, when can I go test this out?
I was hoping you'd ask. I need some more ingredients. More of the luminous plants, for one, and some ink-cap mushrooms, if you wouldn't mind.
What are you cooking up now?
More Diane's chorus means I can mix up plenty of this solution for Aurea. Ink caps? Well, that's a secret for now.
I'll allow it. I'll be back once I've grabbed everything on your sundry list.
The great market of the outdoors. I hope you're able to find some good bargains.
I always do. Out in the field, you mentioned you recognize the sudden change in weather.
The same rapid shifts racked Tarza shortly after the surge. The deserts had been somewhat tamed by enchanted stones, the aeroliths. Each kingdom would boast they had the greatest coverage. Ironically, while the Tarzan nobility were bragging they each had more, the real concentration of them was in Judea. That did not end well.
Let me guess. Something awful happened to them after the surge.
The enchantments cascaded out of control. One would skew the weather too far, others would react.
Like a pendulum swing, but getting stronger.
Yes, rapid and extreme. Just like what we're seeing here. Thankfully, this means they should be somewhat predictable. The more we learn about each locale, the better we'll be able to predict the changes.
So, keep exploring and wear my warm pants now and then. Can do. I think I found a prototype that goes with the helm schematic I gave you.
Yes! These markings in the metal are vents, a signature of the Tarmakine style.
Could we forge the helm now?
Maybe. Give me a sec.
The Tarmakind helm is beautiful, Sola. Can't wait to test it out on an expedition.
I am honestly kind of proud of myself right now. I wasn't totally sure I was going to be able to do that. Like I said, this style is a lost art. I know it's just a small piece, but I'm feeling on top of the world right now.
As you should. This is pretty cool.
Before my mentor, Hilda, passed away, and my apprenticeship was cut short, I always saw myself opening up my own smithing school. Specifically to pass on the Tarmakind techniques and prevent them from being lost for good. Feels like another lifetime now. Obviously that dream died with Hilda. It's been like 10 or 15 years since I've even thought of that.
Hey, if it means new gear, I'll keep tracking down schematics for you. Whatever you decide to do with all the Tarmakind knowledge you acquire.
Wow, that would be amazing. Maybe there's a chance we could restore the techniques after all.
You can do anything you set your mind to, Sola.
You're right. I'm pretty awesome like that.
That's the spirit.
This has all given me a lot to think about. Oh, good. I caught you both.
We are thoroughly caught, love.
I can't stop thinking about the Tarmakind helm we forged, Brynn. I'd written off my early training as a lost cause, but you've sparked my hope.
We'll search high and low, Sola.
To think of it. Traveling the world, sharing knowledge of a lost style of armorcraft.
Yes. I suppose. Oh, I just need to tend to the forge before it cools. Excuse me.
Always so diligent about her forge.
I don't think that was about her forge, Dom.
Oh?
I'm not sure what, but something's bothering her. Just a word to the wise.
Brynn, you are a very good friend. And I know exactly what will lift her spirits. This may prove to be a bit of a challenge, but it's one I know you can handle. I need you to do some harvesting. Pushing your magic into the pattern of a great foe so that you can tear a strand of its power free. This is a critical step for any point. We can only do so much from defeated foes. To push your own mantle requires a harvest.
True. I'm looking forward to this.
You've already downed one of these great beasts, but a harvested strand will be our chance to strengthen your abilities.
Our?
Like all things our band tackles, it's a team effort. Whenever you pull a strand from a foe, I take that captured magic and weave it into your mantle. As a bonus, there are byproducts that I can use to make Solar a small gift.
Win-win. I get magical powers, you get husband points.
We know they've been flying in the skies above Dredger's Mire. It's just a matter of tracking one down and doing what you do best.
My first Drake harvest.
Harvesting. Such an intriguing term for so critical a task.
Why do we call it that anyway?
My favorite explanation is that it implies a thoughtfulness. When we harvest a creature, we pull something out of its essence. It is, fundamentally, a violent act. But we harvest predators, ones that pose a threat to us. There are peaceful or merely territorial creatures that use magic, but Weaver custom is to never harvest them.
That makes sense. I like that we're selective about it.
Further, Weavers do not seek to eradicate these creatures, merely keep them in check. Slaughter them all, and we not only lose access to more strands, but also risk disrupting the ecosystem. You've heard of Renland's famed attempt to cull their Akala population, and the mass loss of crops due to too many deer, yes? Same thing. Even something as wild as an Ash Peak drake plays a role in the world.
Bitter cold. And everywhere. Aeroliths acting up again.
I wonder if the plants have adapted to endure sudden frosts like these.
If this keeps happening, you might want to keep a suit of armor for the occasion.
With the right materials, we can keep you snug as a bug in a rug.
Access to the Enclave's capital.
Amazing, Brynn.
Denevron awaits.
Impressive, Brynn. We're on our way to Denevron. Thanks to you.
Everyone helped. I just did my part.
In a well-run band, everything takes teamwork, that's for sure. But don't downplay your role in this. Since you've been crisis promoted to point, we've felled a great arc, restored a construct, and now we've got access to the Enclave's capital. Not everyone could accomplish what you have, let alone in our current circumstances. In fact, most would crumble under the pressure.
Don't get me wrong, I know I'm doing good here. But honestly, having just left a band that fought and backstabbed one another, I really appreciate the level of teamwork that went into this. The others are lifting me up, and I don't take that for granted.
That's good to hear. I know they're as impressed with you as I am.
Thanks, Aurea.
Now, enough talk. You've got a city to explore.
Incredible.
I've traveled all over, but I've never seen a city quite like this.
Denevron. The Enclave's capital city. The architecture was built to accommodate the Enclave's largest archons.
Oh, good. I thought I'd shrunk using the loom gate.
The city looks as though it's been completely abandoned.
Let's break down the search. Who's got ideas?
Government and archives will establish a history. The closest government buildings can be found in the steppes. You're clearly in Upper Denevron, so according to our map, it shouldn't be far.
People need supplies. Supplies are in markets. And the markets in Lower Denevron.
And there's the bastion on the edge of the city. The military would be involved in any disaster response, and the surge certainly counts. 3 good leads. Brynn, it's your call.
arc of the living flame. Lightly armored compared to the others, but expect things to get hot.
This must be the Atrium of Champions.
Champions?
The most accomplished weavers were honored with statues.
hit so hard, the steps would lead to the spire. Alas. Elected representatives would convene there, including the Eye, the Enclave's leader.
Imagine a time when Weavers had our own governing body.
No sign of damage, but there's something lodged in the back plate. It's a thingy.
So technical. I'll take a look later.
statue kind of looks like you, Aria. Could it be...
My mother, Shireen. I knew she was a celebrated weaver before the Surge, but this...
Your mother has a statue here.
I suppose she does. Watch the tangles coming out of that chasm. The surge hits this place hard.
And look, more coral.
Must have been growing below ground.
Would explain why there's so much damage here from the surge. Another flame strand for your mantle.
According to the old maps, that path leads to the Bastion, their military stronghold. I've got you.
For a band of weavers who just discovered a long-lost city, you don't look very excited.
The prospect of imminent death has put a dampener on things.
While you were out, I found a note. A warning, actually.
We suspect our Hearthsider friend snuck back into the camp.
The letter cautions us that a phenomenon referred to as the Flood is hot on our heels. The Flood is essentially a torrential wave of deadly raw magic that will completely overtake the outskirts and Denevron. Apparently this is a cyclical disaster preceded by extreme weather. Anyone caught in it will die, meaning us.
Honestly, that's not the news I was hoping to hear. But it doesn't change anything.
You did hear Dom say torrential wave of raw magic, right?
Yes. I also heard cyclical, and that it was a Hearthsider who warned us about it. Which means our goal of finding out what happened to the Hearthsiders hasn't changed. If anything, we're one step closer to it.
If this flood is cyclical, it means the Hearthsiders are surviving it somehow. Maybe they have a safe haven on high ground, or enchantments of some kind. All this means is we need to track down the Hearthsiders now more than ever. As though
our lives depend on it.
Yeah, that.
The architecture in Denevron is simply magnificent. I have asked our third friend to join us since he demonstrated such insight with the loom gates.
It was just a lucky guess.
Nonsense. The loom gate works. Enough said.
Gents, the, thingy?
Dom said you found it attached to an ark. One that was shut down.
Mm-hmm. No sign of damage, but this part came off easily.
It's safe to assume it wasn't part of the original construction then. The arcs are famously durable.
Brynn, think back. How does it compare to the ark we found outside the Veil?
Exactly the same. Completely motionless. At least, at first.
We should take another look at our newest friend then. Care to do the honors?
Same place? Same place. Well observed, Sev. You were correct.
Just a lucky guess.
Up. No more of that. Lady, gentlemen, I think we can confidently assert conspiracy.
2 devices does start a pattern.
And a pattern that must predate the Surge, since we found a device that was outside the Veil.
True. That gives us a what and a when, but leaves a whom, a how, and a why.
And how many arcs have been affected?
It does follow that if we found 2, there could be more.
I'll keep an eye out for tampered arcs.
Some may have restarted on their own, like the one we followed through the Veil.
They're going to fight back, aren't they?
It does seem to be, Allah. Yes.
What have we found?
That I am a very great fool.
He is not a fool.
I am. Hours trying to unravel the complex enchantments in each of these devices, and Sev here, paragon of clarity, points out a single point of commonality so mundane I had ignored it.
It's a team effort every time, Dom. What did you two discover?
What our keen-eyed friend spotted was a singular mark etched into each device.
A maker's sigil. We used them in Tarza to lay claim to a craft work. They're certified to each maker. And I've always heard we borrowed that practice from the Enclave.
Meaning this mark could be registered in public records.
The spire is a logical next stop. Nothing comforts the rich and powerful like bureaucracy.
That's where I'll start looking then.
Denevran is a treasure trove for any lawkeeper. The history this place contains. It's almost overwhelming, or it would be for a lesser academic.
But not for you.
No. Certainly I can pass through decades of lost tomes and solve the greatest mystery of our time. What happened to the Enclave? Why wouldn't I succeed where other researchers who have spent far longer immersed in Weaver culture have failed?
Well, you've certainly got something they don't.
I do?
Me? Kidding! You've got access to the Enclave.
That's exactly it, isn't it? It's the opportunity of a lifetime. What if I don't make the most of it?
All you can do is try. It's all any of us can do.
I suppose you're right. After seeing the spire, I can't help but wonder how effective the Enclave's governance was. Did their system work? Was it better than what we have across the Maida? Many questions present themselves.
Do any answers present themselves?
Well, we have the raw facts. If I recall correctly, their government was run by a council that varied in size through the years. At the top of the pecking order were the eye, the spindle, and the axle, all representatives voted in by the council members or various guilds. The documentation currently available to me is rather lacking in detail, though. The succession processes, for example, are unclear.
How's it compared to what you have at home?
Undoubtedly more functional, I'll give it that. The Udean Federation is, to put it plainly, a mess. To the point where our unofficial national dish is a specially prepared meringue that lasts approximately 10 seconds before collapsing.
You all right?
I know we're talking politics, but truth be told, all I can think about now is food.
Kaz might have gathered some herbs. You could try sweet-talking her into mixing something up.
In that case, I think I'll go bother her for dinner. You can't do archival work on an empty stomach, after all.
Sev mentioned something about Udea using aeroliths, like Tarza.
That's true, yes. It was well before my time, but they are not well regarded in our history.
What happened to them?
You're aware Udea had legendary trade fleets that made it the richest federation in the Maida?
Yes, but not since the... Oh.
It turns out when you rely on magic to keep your harbours safe, and magic itself breaks in something like the Surge, there's a price to be paid.
I must ask, to step from here all the way to the capital, what did it feel like?
Arriving in the city felt exhilarating, I guess. If that's what you mean.
No. Denevron's amazing, we know. I'm asking about the sensation of being transported such a distance. So far, you'd only done tiny hops through the loom gates. Was there any notable difference crossing hundreds of leagues?
Truthfully, there wasn't much of a sensation at all. A flash of light and I was in Denevron. That's it.
Oh, I see. I guess I was hoping for a little more. It's all right. There will be bigger discoveries.
If you're lucky, maybe on the 100th time through, I'll get unspooled.
That would not be ideal. Though it would be interesting.
The architecture in Denevron is stunning. It's clear that the Enclave builders were talented. What I wouldn't give to meet them. To think crafters here had stability in their lives, mentors to learn from, and the ability to focus purely on their craft. Such a luxury. And it shows in their work.
Where's that weaver spirit? Learning on the road is what we do, navigating new challenges and experiences.
The Hearthsiders once had a different way, one that has been lost to us since the Surge.
Denevron was home to so many before. I wish I could have seen it full of weavers.
Who knows? Maybe Brynn of Carnhaven will go down in history as the one to restore the Enclave to what it once was.
I like your optimism.
If you succeed, I suppose we'll all have a choice to make.
What choice is that?
Do we stick to life on the road? Or do we put down roots? A lot of memories come rushing back when I think about Tarmakind.
Good or bad ones?
Both. I remember the smells. We used very specific woods for the fires when we were alloying. Precise heats and times and sounds. The guiding tap my mentor would do before every hammer strike. Here, slower, faster, breathe with me. No, foolish girl, again.
Sounds a little relentless.
No more than the combat drills you and Oreo have done. It's all practice. Making your muscles carve a groove so deep the action is automatic, so that your mind is free to focus on the intent.
You miss it?
Not all. I miss the stability of a school, knowing where your tools are, always. And I miss that crusty old battle axe of a mentor. I had so much to learn from her. Still, maybe this is my chance. Pick up where I left off. We'll see.
You seemed a little discouraged earlier when we were talking to Dom.
I was. I know he means well, but sometimes Dom's enthusiasm can be a bit much.
He seemed supportive.
Oh, he is, but let's just say sometimes he latches onto an idea without considering alternatives. It's fine. You're sweet to ask. You know, a quality you share with Aurea is your ability to keep a steady eye on the horizon.
Any comparison to Aurea is flattering. But how do you mean exactly?
The rest of us couldn't help but feel, thrown, to say the least, upon hearing about this flood that might kill us all. But you cut through the fear immediately and recognized that, flood or no flood, our goal stays the same.
I am a little afraid. But I don't see how worrying accomplishes anything.
Exactly. You stay focused on the bigger picture, and you don't let the details throw you off course, however catastrophic they might be.
We will find the Hearthsiders in time.
I know. I have faith.
Brynn, I'm worried. We keep pushing deeper into the Enclave. When do you think we'll start working on a way out of here?
We're the first people through the Veil in almost half a century. Don't you think it's worth taking a look around before rushing out?
For all we know, the Hearthsiders are sending the Arks to attack us. What makes you think we're welcome here?
Welcome or not, we still need to find out what's happened after the Surge.
You're right. It's not like we have a way out, anyway.
How are you feeling about this whole Archon sabotage investigation, Sev?
I am unsettled. The thought of Arks being smuggled out of the Enclave makes me wonder. What else was happening just before the Surge?
It's pretty clear they were up to some stuff wildly over their collective heads. But don't worry, Sev. We're going to figure it out. Lane's going to write the book.
You're right. It's just the implications of an Ark being smuggled out. Was someone trying to reverse engineer how they were built? And if so, who?
The best way to put those worries to bed is to keep searching.
"33, 34, 35, 36. Gods, we'll need more than that.
Everything all right?
Oh, hey. Yeah, I just can't shake this feeling that we're not prepared.
Prepared for what?
I don't know. Maybe the masked figure stalking you, or the hostile Archons at every turn, or... Sorry, I'm doing it again. This isn't on you.
It's all good. But maybe you should take a break. After all, we can't plan for everything.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's what we always said at sea.
Right. Lane mentioned you joined the Udean relief efforts.
Ever the gossip, aren't they? Yeah. At 16, I left on Brynn with a trading company to help.
Wow. Isn't 16 pretty young for relief work?
I wanted to go at 15, but it took a year to convince my parents.
I can hardly believe they let you.
After months of begging, I wore them down. I loved life on the water. The rhythm of running a ship. The sun on your face during the day. The waves rocking you to sleep at night. And we were helping people. I think I miss the smell of the ocean the most.
Life on the ocean sounds pretty nice. I've always dreamed of sailing on a ship. Never had the opportunity, though.
I could take you sailing someday if you'd like.
I'd like that a lot.
My seafaring days feel pretty far behind me now. It's been a few years since I left to join Aurea.
Why did you stop?
Always mouths to feed. Critical supply shortages. Not just materials, but medicine. It felt like I could never do enough. So I walked away. I still feel guilty, though.
You probably helped more people in those years than many do in a lifetime. Needing to step away from the work doesn't erase all the good you did. There's nothing to feel guilty about.
I guess you're right. I just wish there was a way to turn off the little voice in my head telling me I should have done more.
Well, I'm happy to have a stern word with it anytime you like.
Thanks. I'd better get back to work, but this talk helped.
So, what was it like? Exploring Denevron.
It felt like stepping back in time. Even though it was abandoned, I can imagine what it must have been. Filled with weavers living among arcs, magic, and rare goods. It must have been spectacular.
I wish I could be there myself.
You'll be back out there soon enough. How's the wing feeling these days?
Oh, getting better all the time. Don't worry about me. It's quite a thing, being rescued by the scry.
Disorienting. But better than the alternative.
I'll only ever use it when I'm sure it's needed.
It's really nice, having the sensation of you and the others watching over me. You're like the guardian spirits from the stories every Carnhaven child knows. You protect, advise, and of course bicker.
Well, I don't know about spirits, but we'll be your guardians any day.
How come you never hear about scries being used by military? Or to bring nobles home after a night of debauchery?
Rarity and expertise. Scries are enclave enchantments, and when the veil closed, supplies ceased. On top of that, it takes someone with exceptional control and stamina when channeling magic to use one for any length of time.
Got it. That's why points become watchers. How exactly does it operate?
Similar to a loom gate, but much more focused. I maintain a constant flow of magic into the scry, and it connects to you.
Letting you see the area around me.
In an emergency, I can, I guess yank is the best term, on that connection.
Compared to my last band, I'm glad we actually use the scry.
Not as glad as I am that the loom gates seem to extend its effective range. Just don't take it as a license to be reckless. Risky business flirting with death.
Brynn, a moment. I'm collecting data, surveying the team, so to speak. One question is all I need answered. Do you think Arva deserves a share in any rewards for the work undertaken by the Weaver Band?
Of course. But we might have to find something other than gold and jewels to shower her with.
Further elaboration is optional, of course, but what comes to mind?
Back in Carnhaven, we took our pack beasts to the hot springs. I think she'd love a spa day up in the mountains, don't you?
Oh, that's very good. I'll make a note of that.
Anything else you need?
No, that's quite enough for now. Thank you.
I brought you a bag full of what looks like Arthur's breakfast.
The ink caps and sprigs of Diane's chorus. Lovely. And Oria didn't have any problems with Watcher's Wisp.
She noticed a pretty immediate improvement. Seems like it worked a treat.
Wonderful. I'll keep on producing the solution for her then. Another project on my to-do list. How delightful.
We're not overloading you, are we?
Quite the opposite. If I only had one thing to think about, I'd be tearing my hair out in frustration. This suits me. For example, since this began, I've been thinking about what else I could do with those glowing plants you collected. Perhaps I could mix up glow-in-the-dark ink, for example. My focus is on utility, though. And one must ask, would glow-in-the-dark ink be helpful? What do you think?
Maybe you could use it to mark a creature.
For hunting purposes?
Yeah. So you tag one, and it would leave a glowing trail back to its lair.
Fascinating. I wouldn't have thought of that. You have a powerfully tactical mind.
Well, you know, anything to make my job easier.
I don't know if I could ever make the ink glow long enough for that to work, but I like the way you think. Nevertheless, I will keep you abreast of any developments, though I think this project may fall by the wayside in favour of more pressing concerns for now.
Absolutely. Do you need anything else? If not, I'll leave you to it.
Not right now. Thank you for your help.
Anytime.
Dom, care to pass the time with a game of handball?
All this light stone is reflecting the heat.
It would be so much worse if it were absorbing it. This must be the Guild District.
Home to numerous trades, magical and mundane alike. Enchanters, smiths, coopers, glassworkers, you name it.
These the embassies? Envoy's Landing, yes. It wasn't by chance that visiting dignitaries had to walk across the verdant gardens to meet their enclave counterparts at the Spire. Upper Denevron was designed to impress.
Maximilian Arden, founder of the Enclave. Judging by the size of this statue, he certainly wasn't shy about his accomplishments.
That arch should lead you to the lower city.
The surge clearly hit Delevon hard. Still, what?
I've got you.
A body. Ahead. Outfit looks like our spying friends.
So, it's a uniform.
There's a note in his pouch. New drop. Market Loomgate, it says. But wait. Under his mask, he's scorched. Aurea, this looks like the wound on your wing. Only it's everywhere.
But there's no tangle there.
Could he have been caught in the flood?
Seems likely. Proof we should take that warning seriously.
I think we should look into that drop his note mentioned.
Especially if it's near a loom gate.
There's a small compartment here, hidden in the statue, already open and empty.
I often heard that as you entered the perch, the bustle of Denevron would begin to crescendo until it peaked in the market. The Tattered Mantle. I've heard so many stories of this tavern. Always rowdy.
Careful! A sledgeworm can throw things over 3 times its size. your mantle.
These streets running in parallel are known as the Three Sisters. Many weavers hosteled here.
Broker's Arch, the market loom gate.
Aha. Same spot as the last statue. Struck a vein, as my dad used to say.
Wait, I was half listening. Are you hurt?
Metaphor. Her dad was a miner.
We've got a tally sheet of some sort. Series of numbers below. And a bunch of garbled text below that. I have... no idea what I'm looking at.
I might. abandoned city like Denevrin. It must be full of supplies we could use. Do you think you could maybe grab some things for me?
You know I'm happy to help. What do we need?
I've noticed there are more arcs in the city.
So have I.
The upside is, according to Lane's logs, the ones carrying shields could be scavenged for assault. A metal we could use to reinforce all kinds of gear and facilities. A little heat would help in prying it off the arcs.
All right. I'll come back as soon as I have some.
Great. Thanks, Brynn.
Dead body and a hidden cache of materials. It sounds like the start of a Scold's tale.
All we need is a saber conveniently placed on the mantle and we're set.
More seriously, you said you had an idea about that sheet?
Remember that I used to work the trade lanes?
I do.
The dockers always wanted big loads for the cranes. But certain things, like, say, herbs, you'd only ship in small quantities. Over the years, the convoys developed a system where you'd have runners and haulers. Runners would make quick trips and bring small goods to a drop. Haulers would pack the cargo together and make longer hauls to the docks.
You think we're looking at a similar system, then?
Absolutely, I do. It's the sheet you found. That's a requisition for a runner if I've ever seen one. And note how it says Scout Group 23 here. That's a lot of groups.
Which means my mysterious observer is part of a large organization.
And an active one.
Kaz, I have to ask, how does it feel having this specific piece of information at hand right when we need it?
Why?
Because if we suddenly needed to know about Calnhaven or export quotas, I would feel pretty special.
How is that a thing you know exactly?
Dad was a miner. A really good one.
Promise you won't tell the others?
I can manage that.
Then yes. Yes, it feels amazing.
Do the items they're asking for seem important?
No, I don't think so. Lane thinks the garble at the bottom might be, but not the order itself. They're prioritizing fabricated items over raw goods.
What would that indicate?
At a guess, our Hearthsiders have lost, or were expecting to lose, production capacity and wanted backup parts.
How can you be sure the Enclave folks would use similar methods to yours?
It's centuries old, and you don't fix what wasn't broken, especially in a crisis. And from the state of the capital, they were definitely in crisis.
When you say requisition...
Think of it like an order. Bread, cheese, carrots. But left at the drop for the runner to prioritise before the next gather. It takes forethought. There's necessary lag between the order going out and being filled. But any logistician worth their salt can see a few months ahead and plan accordingly.
What do we do with this information, then?
At the bottom of the sheet, there's that series of numbers and letters. Those would represent drop points. I did some digging with Lane, and they're referring to coordinates on a map of the Enclave that was made just before the surge. L7 is part of the capital, see? That's where you found this drop. So, I'm inferring that these other marked coordinates are just as likely to have drops.
I'll check them then.
If nothing else, we could find materials for our own stocks. But I'm hoping there's more.
Maybe where our Hearthsiders are hiding.
Also, Lane was looking over the orders and wanted to talk to you about the writing along the bottom.
More drops, and talk to Lane. Got it. Do you read a lot of Scold's tales, Kaz?
I do. as a matter of fact, when I can find a transcription. But I'll read just about anything I can get my hands on.
Any favourite storytellers?
Eloisa Farthing. She's a local writer back home. Actually, a lot of her stories are set in Dunbrennig. That's what I like about them. No matter where I am in the world, I can curl up with passages describing our rainy summers or stormy winters. And it's like I'm home.
That's beautiful. Though the weather in Dunbrennig sounds terrible.
It is. What about you? Are you much of a reader?
Of course. Nothing better than curling up with a book by the fire.
Huh. Somehow I wouldn't have guessed.
I think it brings me back to my childhood, too. Not a lot happened in my hometown, so I spent a lot of my time reading or listening to stories from travelers and veterans.
Any favourite books?
Ooh, hard to choose. But maybe The Perennial Skirmish by L.M. Saunton. A fictionalized retelling of Carnhaven's fight for independence from the perspective of an Auburn teenager whose parents are lost in the war.
I haven't heard of it. I'll add it to my list. Sola, Lane and I have something of an informal book club on the go. We can give you recommendations.
Good to know. I'm surprised Darm isn't involved in that too.
He was, but his invitation was rescinded. The three of us would like to maintain a soothing mood during our meetups. He got too excited and spilled red wine on the pages of our first read, so...
I see. You wanted to talk about the supply orders?
Indeed. It's about the gibberish along the bottom. Notice how the writing is in a different hand.
Yes, I can see that.
We're looking at a cipher. Someone sharing encoded notes.
Any initial guesses as to what the cipher says?
Hard to say exactly, but what we know is these orders were for Scout Group 23. So let's assume there is an organised group of Hearthsiders arranging these drops. At a guess, this was an unofficial channel of information passed to those in the field.
Information that would be invaluable to us.
Agreed. Why encode text if it's not significant?
You're sure we're dealing with a code and not just doodles?
While possible, it's not likely that someone would scrawl nonsense on the bottom of official orders. Why do so? To practice calligraphy? To refine their writing? Perhaps. But this is decidedly not calligraphy. Ergo, cipher.
What's your background with ciphers, Lane?
There's something of a hobby for me. Specifically, breaking them.
A fan of knowing secrets?
More a fan of information being shared freely. But also, yes, Udean nobility relies on them heavily, and being privy to the dirty laundry of the nobles is advantageous.
Can you give me a quick rundown on encoding, so I'm sure I'm following?
A favourite topic of mine? Cipher is a blanket term for securing text so that only an intended recipient can read it. They range from reasonably simple swaps of letters to complex changes that require devices or key sheets to solve. But, as notes quickly added to supply orders, the codes we are dealing with were simple by necessity.
Sounds like we have a cipher to break. I'll keep hitting dead drops.
Any code is easier to break with more samples. You can work on it like any other research project.
I keep thinking about that dead body you found.
Me too. It's hard to forget.
Aside from the obvious, what bothers me most is they didn't have a scry to rescue them. If the Hearthsiders have fallen so far as to have lost that capability, it's troubling.